Halloween always brings stories about ghosts and things we can't explain, but the creepiest ones are the ones you don't remember until someone else does. When I was around 13, my parents invited over our old neighbors. They used to live next door to us when we stayed in a block of flats, back when I was really young. They all sat downstairs catching up, laughing, drinking. I'd already been sent to bed, but I could still hear everything through the floorboards. At first it was just normal conversation, people reminiscing, talking about old times. But then one of them said something that made my stomach twist. She said, "Hey, Digsy's mom, do you remember when Digsy used to complain that there was someone in his room?" Everyone laughed at first, until she followed it with, "Well, there's a family living above now. They've got a little boy, and he's been saying the exact same thing." I remember just lying there in bed, frozen, because I had no memory of ever saying that. None. But the way they talked about it, it sounded like I really did. The next morning I asked my mom about it. I'll never forget the look on her face. She just stopped what she was doing and said, "You don't remember?" Then she told me everything. She said there were nights when they'd hear footsteps in the hallway. Slow, heavy, deliberate footsteps. When no one was there, things would go missing. Keys, toys, little things, and they'd turn up in places that made no sense. Then one afternoon she was playing a record. She said it started to slow down. Not scratch, not skip, just slow down, like someone was gently pressing their finger against the vinyl until it stopped completely. That's when she finally snapped. She said she stood up, looked around the empty room, and shouted, "Will you leave us the fuck alone?" And right after she said it, the record started spinning normally again. The music played perfectly. She told me nothing ever happened after that. No more footsteps, no more missing things. It was just over. I've never experienced anything like that since, and honestly, I've grown skeptical of ghost stories, but I believe my mom, because the strangest part is that years later, another family moved into that building, right above the flat where we used to live, and their little boy started saying the same thing I did, that there was someone in his room. This story is 100% true, even though most people I tell it to in real life don't believe me. When I was a kid, my parents would let me stay up late on the weekends. I'd fall asleep on the couch, watching TV until my eyelids got heavy. I loved those nights. The soft glow of the television, the quiet house, the sense that I was awake when everyone else was asleep. One night, I was half asleep, drifting in and out, when I heard something outside. It sounded like our old wooden porch swing creaking back and forth. At first I thought maybe it was the wind, but the sound was rhythmic, slow, deliberate. I froze, listening. After a few seconds, curiosity got the better of me. I crept over to the bay window and peeked out toward the porch. That's when I saw her. Sitting on our porch swing was an older woman, maybe in her 50s, wearing nothing but a thin nightgown. Her hair was messy, her skin pale, and she was covered in blood. In her hand, she held a massive kitchen knife. I froze. For a moment I couldn't even breathe. Then panic took over. I bolted down the hallway screaming for my parents. When I finally got the words out, my dad was furious. He thought I was dreaming. He kept telling me there was nothing outside, that I'd been watching too much TV. But I wouldn't stop crying and screaming until he finally lost it. He grabbed me by the arm and said, "I'll prove it to you." There's nothing out there. I begged him not to go, but he pulled me down the hall toward the front door. I remember the sound of his footsteps, the weight of his hand gripping mine, and my heart pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. He unlocked the door, threw it open, and said, "See? There's nothing." He never finished that sentence because she was still there. The woman turned her head toward us, her eyes locked onto mine. Then she slowly stood up, still clutching that bloody knife. I'll never forget the look on my dad's face in that moment, a kind of fear I didn't even know grown men could have. He slammed the door shut, locked it, and yelled for my mom to call the police. Then he ran to the closet, grabbed his shotgun, and went back to the front door. He cracked it open just enough to stick the barrel through and shouted, "Who are you? What do you want?" And she said, "Somebody killed my husband, but it wasn't me." My dad told her the police were on their way. That's when she panicked. She let out this horrible scream, grabbed the knife tighter, and started walking off into the darkness. About 15 minutes later, the police found her, trying to break into one of our neighbors' houses. I never slept in the living room again after that night. Oh, and one more thing. After she left, my dad called my uncle next door to warn him what was happening. Now my uncle was a little unhinged. He stepped out onto his porch with his shotgun, waiting. Apparently, when the woman walked past, he raised it and said, "Keep moving, bitch." And she did. My university was split in half by a big lake. A long bridge cut straight across the water, with a small island in the middle. The kind with an old wooden gazebo and benches where students sometimes sat at night. It was quiet there, peaceful, and a little eerie when the sun went down. One night, I was walking along the edge of the lake, heading toward the bridge. I had to cross to reach the dorms on the other side. The air was cold enough that my breath came out in clouds. The only sound was my footsteps on the wet path and the faint ripple of water against the shore. Up ahead, I noticed someone on the bridge. A kid, maybe my age, wearing a gray-white hoodie with the hood pulled up. He was walking across the section of the bridge closest to me, moving toward the sidewalk where I was. Nothing strange about it. It was late, but people still cut through there sometimes. I glanced down at my phone for a moment, then kept walking. There was a big tree along the path that blocked my view of the bridge for a second or two. When I passed it, I looked back out of habit, just to check where that kid was, but the bridge was empty. No one was there. Not on the bridge, not by the gazebo, not anywhere near the water. I stood there trying to make sense of it. If he kept walking, he would have passed right by me. There's no other exit. If he turned around, there's no way he could have made it all the way back to the island in the few seconds I couldn't see him. He was just gone. I remember scanning the lake, the railings, even the shadows under the bridge. Nothing. I didn't stay long after that. I crossed as fast as I could, eyes straight ahead the whole way. But even now, when I walk that bridge at night, I always find myself glancing toward the gazebo, half expecting to see that figure in the gray hoodie, just standing there, watching. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more horror stories and you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. I really appreciate the support on these stories and bringing my passion to life. See you in the next one.